In the process of migration, successful integration can help individuals and families thrive in their new environment. Now, the efforts of host communities in receiving those individuals within their social or spiritual, educational, and professional networks plays an important role in the success of the integration. Anne Gallagher, she's the president of International Catholic Immigration Commission. She wrote a blog that was published on the World Economic Forum. On the blog, she observes that integration is the delicate, critical transition of the migrant from outsider to insider, the process by which migrants become a part of their new community. Now, successful integration, she continues, is hard to measure because it is multi-layered, touching every part of the migrant experience, from education to housing, political participation, and civic engagement. Hello, viewers. Welcome to this episode of Ebenezer. Thank you for joining us each week on the Ebenezer Show, right here on Preach the Word Network. Today we learn about the experience of one individual and his collaborative work with newer immigrants through his profession. We have looked at this theme of migration from the perspective of different guests, many of them migrants. However, today we'll have the opportunity to meet yet another guest, not a migrant himself, but one who has worked alongside immigrants. We get to listen to his story and witness his Ebenezer moments. To get to that, typical as it is in Ebenezer, the question that I will be addressing is, what contributes to successful integration of a migrant? What helps for people to fully integrate into their new communities and thrive? Now, from a personal perspective, I can attest that the host communities play an important role. I capture our family story in a book titled Away from Home. In that book, I'm describing our experiences and the many individuals we have met along the way. During our migration journey, we have established friendships along the way. And many of the friends have been like family to this day. New family and new friends that we have met. We have met people of different nationalities, cultures, and backgrounds. We have learned important lessons from them through shared interests and shared networks. And like many migrants, we have connected with the members of our new communities as we integrate and seek to thrive within those communities. A partnership between migrants that embrace the Christian faith and their host counterparts has potential of bringing the mission of the church full circle. I have always mentioned how some missionaries came to my country of origin and shared the gospel of Christ. And many times when I share in my work area about being the results, the fruits of the missionaries and coming back to give back, it is a blessing. Migration indeed is as old as humanity is. we read about Abraham and his descendants as sojourners, living away from home and needing the hospitality of others to help them in their integration. Now, with the help and support of individuals and families, many migrants have settled and integrated into their new communities. And we are giving back. They are giving back as they share their resources and share their skills and their knowledge. Our guest today is one of those individuals who we, my family and I, encountered during our stay in Canada, in the very early years of our stay in Canada. We have benefited from years of partnership in ministry, having the same passion for ministry, having the same concern for ministry. At some point, he was even giving in by building the website that hosts the ministry back in our country of origin. He is joining me today to share his story with us, to introduce himself, and by so doing, we get an opportunity to meet yet another person, like we always do on Ebenezer. Learn about the person, learn his story, and give God the glory. I will see you on the other side of the conversation. Ebenezer. Such a great pleasure to have a longtime friend and a colleague, a partner in ministry, Lorne Shantz, joining us today to have an opportunity to share his story with us. So you'll get to meet yet another person, get to know about them, and give God the glory for the work he's doing in the lives of his children. Welcome, Lorne.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Thank you for making time to share with our viewers on Ebenezer, the goodness of God in your life. The best place to start is to tell us about yourself. People may be asking, who exactly is Lorne Shantz? So if you are to get that question, tell us about yourself and something unique that we can remember you by.
Sure. Well, I'm 59 years old, so there's a lot of life that's occurred over the years there. But a couple of key things, I suppose, are the fact that I was adopted at 4 months. And so growing up, I was always, my parents always referred to us as chosen children. Wow. And that was an interesting way of phrasing it, because it seemed in some ways add an extra amount of value to us. So 3 out of the 4 kids in our family were adopted. And that's played a significant role as I became a Christian and understanding God's adoption of us into his family. And so I was able to relate to it in a very human sense, and also in the spiritual application of that as well. So that's been obviously a significant thing for me. Secondly, as long as I can remember, I've been entrepreneurial. I started my sales career at 5 years old. And I remember at the cottage getting some prizes out of the cereal boxes and looking at them and thinking if I did some modification to them, I could go out and sell them. And so I started my sales career there, and I was going around the neighborhood. Now, my mother, she defined my sales territory as just up and down the street that I was on. But as many salesmen find over the years, is sometimes that territory they're given doesn't yield enough sales. And so I decided to take the liberty of expanding my territory. And I went down other streets and other blocks and actually ended up quite far away. But I successfully sold all of my product for 10 cents. And in those days, 10 cents bought an awful lot of candy. And those young fellows that bought that stuff from me took me in their car to the candy store. I was able to get a big bag of candy. And then they drove me home and dropped me off. And I was excited about my success, but my mom was a little bit upset. One, that I expanded my territory without permission from her, the manager. And then two, that I was willing to ride with strangers in their car and take that risk. I was not happy with her response, and especially when she took the candy from me as a punishment and shared it with my siblings. I learned a lot of valuable life lessons during that first sales activity.
Thank you, Lorne. I will not look at the word adoption the same way after just what you shared. And on Ebenezer, many times it's not just our viewers who are learning things about you. I'm learning also about you. Now, Lorne, if you can tell us about your faith journey. When did it begin and how?
Sure. I was adopted into a faith family. They attended church regularly, took me along, took my siblings along. And we were involved with Sunday school and church plays and 14 catechism and those things. So I grew up in the church. When I was 7, my parents hosted at our property a daily vacation Bible school. I remember the leaders giving a challenge to accept God at that point. I think I did as best as I understood it at 7 years old. And then at different points after that, different challenges to make God more important in my life. But through my teen years, I really did not give much thought to it till I was 18, 19. And I ran into some challenges, and I observed some of my Christian friends and how they lived, how their families operated and whatnot, and came to understand in a meaningful way what it means to be born again and give God through Christ the lordship in my life. And I made that commitment at that time. And then since then, I've endeavored to lead my family in a godly way as best as I'm able, and attending church, being involved in church leadership, making sure the kids were involved in church activities. The kids, we did some homeschooling from a Christian curriculum early on, and then got them involved with Christian school through to their high school. And then at home, their mother and I have endeavored to set a meaningful example of being a Christ follower and incorporating the Bible, prayer.
Indeed, that's how we have known you as a couple and a family that endeavors to live out the principles of the Bible. Now, if I may ask, what would you consider a defining moment when you look at your early life, when you look at your decision to embrace faith, your grounding years? Would you pinpoint a certain time to be a defining moment?
Yes, I would say in my journey, there's been everyday experience, and if we consider that the valley, and that would encompass the majority of my life. However, there's been certain mountaintop experiences along the way that have either been course corrections or significant moments of revelation, that type of thing. So the first one probably was that 7 years old and that initial introduction. I remember at 14 during catechism asking the pastor why I can believe all this Bible stuff is true. And interestingly enough, being entirely dissatisfied with his answer, which caused me to be not having a negative or critical spirit, but having a critical mind to really try to think about things and the reality of the things that we're being taught and how they apply in a everyday way to our life. So at 14, at 18, coming to Christ, coming into the lordship of Christ, maybe is the best way to put it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so those would have been early on, and then there's different episodes since then that have really helped shape direction and that type of thing.
And that leads me to a question about how would you say that period of your life, your early life, prepared you to take the path that you are in right now, your vocational path? I would almost say your sales approach, your sales and how you succeeded in your entrepreneur work, but I don't know if that is the one. So what influenced that decision to prepare you for your current vocation?
Yeah, it's I think we're all shaped by our temperaments and our things that we get passionate about and whatnot. And so for me, it's always been something business oriented, entrepreneurialism, innovation, those kind of things would be characteristics of the way my brain operates. And then how that intersects with faith, well, a good example of that is when I was saved in my late teens. I looked around and thought, what am I going to do with my life at this point? And I had been running a reasonably successful disc jockey service, but in a lot of ways that was the God in my life, and I felt strongly that God was asking to displace DJing with himself, and so I let go of that direction and followed God, and in doing that I felt maybe Bible college was the direction to go. So I enrolled at Emmanuel Bible College in Kitchener, and with the thought of perhaps becoming a missionary, maybe pastoral, but more interested in missions. I took the first year of that a bachelor's course, and then that summer really wrestled with the idea of going back, because I was wrestling with the idea of I have this desire, entrepreneurship, to do something business wise, and then but I'm also interested and driven by ministry at the same time, and I wondered if there wouldn't be a more effective way to combine both of those things together. And so I felt strongly not to continue on with the Bible college, but to go to work. And that decision led me down now a lifetime pursuit of what it means to be have a vocational ministry and understand that type of thing. But it's been a long time in trying to understand and come to grasp with what all that means.
Vocational ministry, I like that phrase. And Lorne, we are grateful that you're coming back in the next episode to build on to this vocational ministry, how it evolved and how you're continuing to do that work. But to end us now, just to end this episode today, in Ebenezer, we always say you look back and you recount one of your Ebenezer moments. In life, you can have multiple. And Ebenezer moment is that moment where you sense God helped you through a certain path or a situation. If you are to look back in your life right now, mostly your early life, what would you pinpoint as an Ebenezer moment?
Yeah, I really do appreciate that concept of Ebenezer. I was moved by it when Joshua led the Israelites across the Jordan River, and they set up that Ebenezer so that when they look back, they could remember the goodness of God. And so that concept actually has been significant for me over the years, and I do have a number of those Ebenezer moments. I think one of the most significant ones that I'm thinking about is in my early 20s, I was having some marriage troubles. I was married previously before marrying Kathy. And during that time, we were really having some struggles. And I remember asking two godly men, Olu Peters and Jim McDowell, who were friends and people I respected. and asked them to join me at the auditorium at Emmanuel Bible College and pray with me about the situation and my own feelings and how I express things and whatnot.
Mhm.
And as we met together and we prayed, I had quite a significant experience with God, with the Holy Spirit. I believe I don't come from a charismatic expression, but it was in a lot of ways a charismatic experience, and that I felt as I was praying almost like the Spirit coming as a wind through my life. No physical manifestation of any sort, but just the emotional and mental feeling and picture of that. And it was like he took where I, for all my life up to that point, expressing love, using the word love, telling my parents I love them. Those are things that I just didn't do. And for whatever reason, it was like there was a blockage of sorts there. And I can't point to any specific reason for that. It was what it was. But it was as if in that moment, God just kind of blew that away. And I was able to cry. I was able to feel those deep emotions. And I was able to, from that point forward, able to express those to my wife, to my parents, to others throughout. And that's something that is continued to this very day. And so that would be an example of one of those Ebenezer moments that was significant to me. And I do look back and I'm reminded that he can do some things new in my life even today.
Thank you, Lorne. That's a poignant moment. We will stop at that point to just process what you've said. It draws emotions. A miracle that God gave you, but in turn that you have gifted us with. Thank you for coming today, and we look forward to continuing the conversation in the next episode.
Happy to do that.
God bless you. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking around. We can now add the name Lorne Shantz to the list of people we have met. We only got a little bit of his story, but it was a good piece. As Lorne tells us about his early years, he started this business early as an entrepreneur. Now that we know who Lorne is, I look forward to learning more of his story when he comes back in the next episode to reflect on his professional journey, the vocational journey, the path that he took to get where he is today. Well, not everyone is an immigrant. Some people have lived on the land where they are for generations unknown and have not experienced the life of migration. Whatever your situation, we know that immigration is an age-old tradition that affects all people in different ways, whether you are an immigrant or if you're a host community, a member of the host community, you have never left home, or even if you have gone just for a short time to either take a job or experience life in a different part of the world. Reverend Dr. Rupen Das is the Executive Director of the Canadian Bible Society and research professor at Tyndale University and Seminary in Toronto, Canada. He looks at migration from a biblical narrative perspective and has written 2 books on the subject of migration. In one of his blogs, published by Langham, he observed that migration has been a reality since the beginning of time. It was the process through which people found places to build homes and communities that could sustain them. Reverend Das continues by saying it is a phenomenon of human history that permeates the biblical narrative. The movement of people, both forced and voluntary, weaves through biblical history, not as a background to the main narrative, but as a fundamental to God's purpose. I like that thought. Immigration is not an afterthought. It's not a new phenomenon. It's not a contemporary reality. It's as old as humanity themselves. And it takes part in the mission of God. Migration also creates opportunities for ministry. Both the migrants and the host communities have opportunities to share their faith as they share other experiences with each other. They share their culture, they share their food, they share their knowledge. It's a great opportunity. Should you be an immigrant or be privileged to know migrants within your networks, should it be possible at all, reach out and get to know each other better, both the host communities and the migrants, as you build your new communities, as you work together, as you serve together, as you worship together. When an opportunity presents itself, share your stories of faith. And be the reason that someone gets to know about your God and join you in giving praise to God. Sometimes there is a temptation for immigrants to isolate themselves, to stay in within their own communities. They build communities of people from their same heritage, which is a great thing because it brings comfort. It helps people relate with each other and have a little bit of home. But it helps to integrate, to step outside of those comfortable and good zones, to step outside of the familiar and meet individuals in the host community. And this likewise for host communities. It can be scary, but it's worth stepping out to meet new people and learn from them and become partners in the ministry of God. On behalf of the Ebenezer team, on behalf of all of us at Preach the Word Network, I wish you all a gentle week. Ebenezer.